there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and today I'm going to be doing my weekly reading wrap up from March 25th until today, March 31st. I read a total of 7 books this week. I'm really happy with that as I had out of town guests this week. My in-laws were in town for an air show and it's their spring break, so I'm really surprised I even was able to read 7 books. I will link them all down below and I'd love to hear if you've read any of these, and let's get right into it. So the first book that I read I got from the library, and it is I Know You Know by Gilly McMillan. I've never read anything by this author, but I own a couple of her books, and this one I've heard is pretty good. I heard Kayla over at Books and Lala talk about it, and she said she really liked it, and it was available, so I decided to check it out, and I did enjoy it. It was a really interesting format. So it is about these 2 guys that were murdered. They were 10 and 11 years old, and they were murdered back in 1996. Well, someone was convicted for their murder and he was put on death row, and now 20 years later his innocence is being questioned, and their childhood best friend named Cody, he is doing a podcast to uncover the truth of what happened. And so it's told in alternation of like present day back in 1996 as well as Cody's current podcast. And while he's trying to uncover the truth, there's people in the town that are not very open to rehashing the past, and he's wondering what they have to hide. And this one was really interesting, and like I said, I enjoyed the kind of podcast element. Even though I don't listen to podcasts very often, I thought it was a really cool addition to the book, and I gave this one 4 stars. And then after that I read a pretty short book called Our Life in a Day by Jamie Fury. I've never heard of this author before, but I saw it pop up on my Goodreads, and it was pretty cheap for Kindle. And so I had picked it up, and it is about a couple named Esme and Tom. They've been together for 10 years, and on their 10th anniversary, Esme creates this game for them to reflect on their last 10 years together. So basically, they think about 24 memories that are the most vital to their relationship for each hour of the day, and it will make 24 memories to explain 10 years of their relationship. So you see how they met, their ups, their downs, the everyday things, the big things, and it's happy and sad. And I was expecting to feel more. I thought it would emotionally impact me more, but unfortunately it didn't. And so I ended up giving this one 3 stars, and I thought it was just okay, and it actually made me feel more melancholy than happy, unfortunately. And then after that I read an arc for Deliver Me by Karen Cole. Got this off of NetGalley. It is already available for Kindle as of December, but I guess the paperback is coming out next month, so it was available for review. So I picked that one up, and if you're interested, it's already available for Kindle. And this one is about a girl named Abby that she goes to the doctor and discovers she's pregnant, a couple months pregnant, and she is shocked because she doesn't think she's had sex in about a year with her ex-boyfriend. And the only time she could have gotten pregnant was if she was raped at a New Year's Eve party at her friend's house. And so she's freaking out thinking that someone raped her. So she goes to her friend and asks him everyone who was there, and she kind of interviews everyone and tries to figure out who could have sexually assaulted her and whose baby this is. And meanwhile she's also getting notes that is insinuating there's a stalker and they know who raped her. And so it's pretty creepy for her, and sounds like a worse nightmare, getting raped at a party and then finding out you're pregnant months later, having no recollection of engaging in those acts. That's pretty scary. And it was a really good book, and I like that I thought I knew who the perpetrator was and I was wrong. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. And then after that I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was really excited to pick this one up because I've heard everyone talking about it, and it is my final Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I need to read. And this follows a band called the Six in the 70s. They came to fame in the 70s, and the frontrunner's name is Billy. And he struggles a lot, like a lot of musicians at that time, with drugs, alcohol, and cheating on his wife. And it is about this band and a woman named Daisy Jones, who is a super free spirit but has an amazing voice. No musical lessons or anything. She's just naturally talented. And the Six bring her onto the group, and it is about kind of them being really successful as a group and they are interviewed, and it's years later, and it's told in an interview format, all of their interviews blended together. And I thought this was really good. It is a kind of contemporary historical fiction, kind of like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but to me this one wasn't quite as good. It didn't quite pack the emotional punch, but I love the kind of Almost Famous, A Star is Born vibes. Like, it reminded me of Almost Famous a lot, and I love that about it. So I ended up giving this one a little over 4 stars, like 4.25. It wasn't quite 4.5 stars, but it was more than 4 stars, and I did enjoy it. And then after that, I read my first Lisa Jewell. I was really excited. It is The Girls in the Garden. I had this in from the library, and so I decided now is a better time than ever to just read one of her books. It is about a mother named Claire and her 2 daughters named Pip and Grace. They move into an apartment after her husband has to go to a psych hospital, and they move in there, and all of the apartments in that area share a communal garden that's a couple acres wide, and all of the families and all of the children play together, and it's very cliquey. And they move in, and her daughters immediately take to this other family who have 3 daughters that are homeschooled, and the parents' names are Leo and Adele, and they all get into a lot of drama. And in that garden years ago, a woman mysteriously died, and now it appears that history might be repeating itself, and Claire is starting to regret moving to this garden home place after all. And this was pretty good. It had very good atmosphere and good suspense, but I found that the ending wasn't super crazy. It was a little underwhelming, and I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. The next book I have to talk about is PickSix by Max Monroe. This is the second book in the Mavericks Tackle Love series, and it follows Sean Phillips, the Mavericks wide receiver. And basically the Mavericks hire a UCAM vlogger celebrity named Six Malone to do an 8-part series for the team. And basically when Six Malone and Sean Phillips first meet, Sean takes dibs on Six. And he is a total man whore, but he really wants to make Six his. And Six is a very confident woman. She got to where she was by working hard, not by sleeping around, and she's very hesitant to take interest in him, especially because it would look bad to other people. And he's super cocky, and she wants to put him in his place. And so a lot of the book is her putting him in his place, and it's their romance, and it was pretty good. It wasn't as good as Wildcat, but I did enjoy it, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. And then the last book that I actually just finished today is called The Dancing Girls by M.M. Chenard. And this is the first book in the Detective Joe Fournier series. And it comes out in a couple months, I believe. And this one I really enjoyed. I don't think M.M. Chenard has any other books already. And I was super impressed for it being their first publication. So this obviously follows a female detective named Joe Fournier. And it follows several women that are being murdered in the same manner. They're being found in a hotel, strangled without their wedding ring, no physical evidence, no sexual abuse, and they are in from out of town on like a work retreat in all different locations. Basically, Joe Fournier is trying to solve these crimes faster than the killer can kill more people. What I enjoyed about this is not only do you see the perspective of Joe, the detective, but also the victims as well as the serial killer. So I thought that was really interesting, and you got to see into the mind of the serial killer, and I super enjoyed that. So those are all of the books that I read this week. I'd love to hear what you guys have been reading. I will link all of these below, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye.